Rain, we had bodies popping out of the ground. We tried burying people on the levee. When the river came up, we had coffins floating toward the Gulf, heading south. So burying people in New Orleans has been a problem from the very beginning. Now, this crypt method of burying in crypts came to us from French Haiti. They do this in Europe and other Caribbean islands where doesn't have the room like graveyards in Texas. Anybody from Texas? Yeah, well, you know how big graveyards are in Texas, right? Man, so we don't have that kind of room here in New Orleans. But being a swamp, now I'll give you another idea about a swamp. This ridge we're on, we talked about high ridges on the bus, right? This is a high ridge. So during Katrina, there may have been a foot of water here or less. But look how this graveyard falls off of this ridge. To the rear of this graveyard could have been 8 to 10 feet of water. To give you an idea about high ground in the swamp, that is the original path the Indians took the French down 303 years ago to discover the Mississippi River. Now, what happens in our crypts? State law says a year and a day you can open up a crypt and remove and replace a coffin because remains never leave the crypt. It's illegal. They open up number one. Each one of these chambers to the rear of it has a hole that allows the remains to go down below this crypt. It's a large hole below here. So number one is taken out, the remains are taken out of the coffin and pushed to the back of the crypt, allowing them to go down below this crypt. The old coffin is taken out and thrown away. The new body and coffin goes in. That's how we cycle people to association crypt. Everybody understand that? Any questions? Okay, good.
Yes.
Good. Could they be watered? Yes, ma'am.
Are these people all from the same families? Or
No. You member of the association. You can't afford a family crypts. That's why you join the many associations in the cemetery.
Okay.
Okay? So, all the remains down here are mixed up? Of course they are. Could they be watered down there? Probably. Okay? But it's your remains. Like you see in the Bible, ashes to ashes and dust to dust. Okay?
How big of a hole do they have?
It's deep down there, probably about 6 to 8 feet.
I just wonder how many people they.
Oh man, you can get a lot. You can get a lot of remains. Look, let me go back a minute, so that way you understand what I'm telling you how it works. For 9 months plus in New Orleans, the heat and humidity, these crypts get over 400 degrees. So a body, even in a year and a day, is pretty much gone. You put a roast in the oven at 400 degrees for 9 months and see what you got left. And I hate to put it that way, but it gives you an idea. This body, man, deteriorates.
Yeah.
And the heat and humidity even breaks it down. And also nowadays that we embalm people, the body deteriorates faster with all the chemicals they put into a body. Now, before we had embalming, earlier days in New Orleans, we had yellow fever pandemics. A lot of people wasn't dead. They had in coffins in our graveyards. They were in comas. And before they were buried, a lot of them were buried alive by accident because they thought they were dead. And then later on, when they opened up the crypt up to remove the body and do just like I just told you, they found scratch marks where people woke up and trying to get out of the coffins. Yep. Yeah, it was crude living in New Orleans. It was crude living. Yellow fever pandemic is just like COVID. People were in comas. They didn't know they wasn't dead. So, family crypt. You treat your family crypt like you treat your family home. It is your burial ground for you and your family. You don't want your kids buried in your family crypt? You tell them to go get their own crypt. You have a buddy of yours that died in New Orleans, he doesn't have a family crypt. You control this crypt because it's your family crypt. You bury his body in the crypt. Now, a small kid dies in the family. Both bodies in this crypt has been in less than a year and a day. You can open up your crypt, open up one of the coffins, and bury that small child with another body. Remember, this is your family burial ground. You control it. Now, you'll see some of them with keys. You'll see some of them with names on them. Just because you don't see a bunch of names on them, that doesn't mean how many bodies have gone into these crypts. You don't see no names here, do you? How many bodies have gone to this association crypt? 100? Maybe 200? Who knows? Some crypts, like we saw uptown, Lafayette Cemetery, I bet you some of them crypts up there have had 70, 80, 100 people have been cycled through that crypt. How we bury people above ground. Now, there's only one cemetery in the metropolitan New Orleans area where people are buried below the ground. They built the ground up, and it's by their tradition. It's a Jewish cemetery. They have to be buried below the ground. How many Catholics I have in the group besides me? Okay. Before 2015, it was a sin to cremate your loved ones in the Catholic Church. After 2015, thank God, because I want to be cremated. There's a crematorium down here where you put ashes. I'll show you that. Any other questions before we move on? All right. The more money you have, the bigger your family crypts. I talked about Tom Benson's crypt is over 1,500 square feet. I don't know if you really paid attention to Al Copeland, who started Popeye's Chicken, had the twin crypts right to the front of that cemetery. Yeah, look at the spacing in that cemetery as compared to this one. But I'm going to show you a crypt here that's over 600,000. The Skelly crypt. We'll walk this way.